Thanks for your support as a channel member, Justin Inakaitis. FIA Formula 2 is one of the most exciting and unpredictable motorsport series as young drivers aim to hone their skills and graduate to Formula One. But what if we were able to put all 22 F2 drivers from 2024 into Formula One cars? Well, fortunately, I can do just that on F1 Manager. So in today's challenge video, let's see how the F2 grid fares in Formula One cars. I put the 2024 Formula 2 grid into F1 cars on F1 Manager 2024 to see how they would get on. I created a new team in order to give all 22 drivers a spot on the grid, with drivers in junior programs stepping up to their respective teams. Oliver Bearman joins Ferrari while 2024 F2 title winner Gabriel Bortoleto steps into a McLaren. Here's the grid in full. Using the F1 Manager database editor, I've also made the cars equal in performance as they are in F2. We've trimmed the calendar too, racing only at the 14 circuits the F2 cars visited in 2024. For my team, the drivers are Dutchman Richard Verschoor and Paraguay's Joshua Dirksen. I'm writing this bit before starting the season and I think we're going to see Kimi Antonelli win the championship for Mercedes. Let me know in the comments who you think will take the crown. The first qualifying session of the season saw Aston Martin's Jack Crawford take pole position. Richard and Joshua would be starting from 19th and 16th respectively. We decided to use the goated Bahrain one-stop strategy with minimum fuel in the car to get up the order. Crawford held the lead when lights went out, but soon it was the Ferrari duo of Victor Martins and Oliver Bearman leading the way. Richard and Josh fought their way up through the field and into the points, but nothing stopped Bearman's Ferrari triumphing and clinching the first win of the campaign. Richard came home a fighting fourth and Joshua lost out to Martins, who made a late stop for softs, and Bortoleto on the final lap. My pre-season tip Antonelli failed to score. Crawford was again on pole in Jeddah for what turned out to be a race of chaos. On lap 2, Zane Maloney and JM Correa collided, bringing out the red flags. And just a few laps later, Ritomo Miata smashed into the wall, requiring another stoppage. On the second restart, Verschoor passed Crawford and Isaac Hadjar to lead. He looked in contention to win until he also had a chat with the barriers, causing significant damage to the car. His race would later be ended by this collision with Rafael Villagomez. A late safety car gave us a sprint finish and Pepe Marti pinched the win at the final corner from Crawford. It wasn't all bad for the American though, as this P2 gave him the lead of the World Championship. Aston Martin now topped the team standings. Crawford finally took the top step in Melbourne. The American extended his lead in the championship to 20 points. Verschoor picked up 7th place despite starting 19th, but Dirksen could only manage to finish in 19th. Isaac Hadjar was the big loser from this race. He started on the front row, but a crazy strategy call from Red Bull saw him suffer a late puncture on old tyres, and he finished 21st. The Tifosi had high hopes on race day in Imola as Bearman and Martins locked out the front row. Their hopes were dented, however, when Bearman, who'd started from pole, went off at Tosa corner. But there was to be joy and celebrations as Victor Martins passed Kimi Antonelli on the final lap to clinch a home win for Ferrari. Verschoor recovered from 12th to finish 4th, ahead of championship leader Crawford. Martin's victory lifted him to 3rd in the standings. The championship leader returned to winning ways in a chaotic Monaco Grand Prix. Taylor Barnard crashed out in his McLaren and caused an early red flag. This was handy because Verschoor had just damaged his car as well. Franco Colapinto and Amaury Cordial collided to bring out the safety car. Somehow the stewards deemed this to be the Argentine's fault. And then from the restart, Marty and Crawford battled, with the American edging out his nearest title rival. Next we went to Austria, where we had heavy rain predicted for the race. But before the rain arrived, plenty had happened. Verschoor, who'd started 18th, made this triple overtake, which included passing championship leader Crawford. Then Villagomez and Roman Stanek caused a safety car. Dirksen had this ridiculous crash at the restart. Pepe Marti and Victor Martins collided, and Verschoor reached P1 on lap 22. As the rain arrived, we kept Richard out for a bit too long, expecting to need full wets and not intermediates. But once we were on the right tyre, we chased down Hadjar and pole sitter Paul Aaron to be right behind Antonelli when the switch to slicks was needed. It came down to the last lap and I thought Vasseur had made the pass too early, but the Dutchman held off the Italian to clinch his first Formula One win. Marti failed to take full advantage of Crawford's first non-score of the season, only managing 5th. After all of that craziness, I decided to sim the race in Spain. Crawford saw his title advantage trimmed again by Marti, who picked up 2nd in his home race. The American driver recovered from a tricky qualifying to score 5th, as Martins won from pole. Halfway through the season now, and Crawford led by 14 points. My tip for the title, Antonelli, was 23 points off the pace, and Martins a further point behind him in 4th. We headed to Silverstone next, where the British fans were hoping Oliver Bearman could capture a home win from pole position. He had to fight off Crawford, Hadjar and Vasseur in the early stages, before pitting on lap 12. Despite a nice undercut, the Ferrari driver found himself scrapping with Hadjar and Paul Aron for the net race lead, but his aging tyres saw the Estonian gain the upper hand. However, on lap 33, the Alpine driver was shockingly involved in a collision with the Haas of Cordial, handing Bearman the advantage again. Bearman stopped on lap 36 for fresh mediums, and he was now 16th, behind many one-stoppers. But one man who had perfected his strategy was Vasseur. He moved his way through the field on mediums and found himself chasing Bortoletto and Crawford for the win late on. The Dutchman grabbed the lead on lap 51 into Brooklands and held off his American rival for a memorable win. And this victory put Vasseur into the championship's top 3, 36 points behind Crawford. Richard followed his British Grand Prix win up by taking pole in Budapest, and we would have won the race in Hungary had I not run into a game-breaking bug which caused the game to crash if I finished the race. So we had to settle for P10 because Vasseur crashed out on the last lap. Richard was again on the front row in Belgium. The first half of the race was wet and things were really spiced up with a red flag around lap 30. We were just about to snatch the lead with 5 laps to go when a safety car was called. Vasseur and Marti both passed Hadjar at the restart, and it seemed Marti had stolen victory on the Kemmel Straight. But this absolutely stonking overtake by Richard grabbed a vital win. We weren't to be denied this time, as the game thankfully didn't die after the race. But Crawford still held a 28-point lead with 4 rounds remaining. We simulated the race in Monza, where Dirksen had actually grabbed pole position, but the F1 god smiled on Richard on race day as he won from P5. In the process, he cut Crawford's lead to 26 points as the American finished 2nd. Baku is normally carnage in Formula 2, but it was light on drama until a mid-race red flag. Crawford, who'd started on pole, had built a decent gap to Richard, thanks to the undercut and a slow stop for the Dutchman. But Taylor Barnard's crash brought Vasseur back into the fight. He went on to beat Bearman's Ferrari to the victory, while Crawford fell to 5th on the last lap. The victory sliced 16 points out of the Americans' title advantage. What had become apparent to me was the cars may no longer have been equal. It turned out the AI teams had been developing their cars and actually making them slower. So using the editor, I re-equalised performance again by giving all the teams more of their base spec parts and assigning them to each driver. For the penultimate round in Qatar, Crawford started from pole, but he would later go on to retire with mechanical problems. It was a chance for Richard to take the championship lead, but this spin blew that opportunity. Gabriel Bortoletto won the race as Vasseur recovered to 7th. It meant 4 points separated the American and the Dutchman heading to Abu Dhabi. For the season finale, Crawford started 8th and Vasseur 17th. The Dutchman had made his way up to P8 by the time a safety car was called on lap 9. As everyone dashed into the pits, Richard gained a place and came out right behind Crawford. But having put on another set of softs, this was far from over. Another safety car came when Miata and Stanek collided, and the Japanese driver was again involved when the race was red flagged, crashing out with O'Sullivan. On lap 26, Vasseur got himself into the lead with a superb double pass on Crawford and Antonelli. The trio continued to share the lead positions, with the tension building ahead of a champion being crowned, when one of the three crashed out on lap 39. Crawford's demise meant Vasseur only had to finish 8th or better to be champion. After pitting during the virtual safety car thrown for his rival's crash, the Dutchman came home to win the season finale and with it, the World Championship. Despite the driver's title, Verschoor and Dirksen were only good enough to score third in the Constructors, as Red Bull retained that crown. Victor Martins ended the season as the highest rated driver at 79, but only 7th in the standings. 2024 champion Gabriel Bortoleto finished 4th for McLaren, while Oliver Bearman only managed 9th for Ferrari. Mercedes protege and my predicted champion Kimi Antonelli was 6th, and 2025 Racing Bulls driver Isaac Hadjar was 5th. 2024 Williams stand-in Franco Colapinto scored only 10 points as they finished bottom of the team's standings. That was an interesting season, although I won't deny I am annoyed that the AI added upgrades that made their cars worse. But when it came down to it, Crawford crashed out and Verschoor won the race. Let me know which driver's performance surprised you most. If you enjoyed this video, leave a nice big thumbs up on it for me and subscribe for more F1 Manager Challenge videos coming very, very soon. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next episode. You're the best, fans. It's bye for now.